Ian Ileana of I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway, a podcast dedicated to environmental activism, music. I'm one hell of a DILF, very single. Oh, and human rights advocacy. Looking forward to moving to Canada where I can continue my humanitarian aid. I have tried to make LA see reason on environmental issues and nobody wants to listen. I try to tell them that by using things like asphalt and concrete that they're actually making things worse. Nobody wants to listen. That's okay. I just have to send the message somewhere else. If Los Angeles is intent upon ignoring the advice of an environmental scientist, a climate scientist, and an engineer, by ignoring change.org/clear LA smog, an initiative to change the building materials from concrete and asphalt into recyclable materials that can be used to reduce pollution. If they really want to ignore my advice, then I just take my message elsewhere. There are plenty of other cities and countries that might actually listen. When I did change.org/Scotland New Grid, the idea to improve the infrastructure of those in the North Atlantic, they sent me a lovely message saying, we're not really voting on that issue at this time. But at least they responded. When I told Canada that I'm an engineer who is trying to start a new space program that does not use rockets, and that by using rockets, you're actually slowing down scientific advancement, Canada didn't even respond. Just nothing. Not a single acknowledgement that I am a genius and should be treated as such. So I have no choice. I'm gonna have to go up to Canada and actually give a full presentation during one of my concerts so that they know that there are other methods besides rockets to go into space. You'll have to excuse me, I'm a new pizza maker and it's quite delicious. Let's get into the chat. Hello, Ghost Runner. Hello, Donna. Hello, Ajit. Chowder Boy. Hello. Sons. Wife him. Yeah, my hair's pretty unwild. It's pretty wild. So, I know I talk about a bunch of things here. I'm going to talk about how scientific advancement is being held back. Hello, Declan Drum. Very nice to meet you. So I am an engineer who comes up with several projects, namely in medicine and in astrophysics. I've had some success in using alternative methods besides rockets, and I would like to revamp a space program to fit that. Nobody says anything. Jennifer, I'm sorry to hear that. Welcome to my chat. If you can spend your remaining moments doing anything positive in this world, look at the description. There are several causes in there that are extremely important for the survival of the human race. Now, I do not belittle other scientists except those that work at NASA or SpaceX. I think they're fools. I do think that by not having me as an engineer and that I'm a disabled American veteran without my full veteran benefits, it holds back scientific advancement, specifically in things like medicine. My ideas on virology, my ideas on preventive care, namely nutrition and radiology, should be heeded, should be heeded. Angela, there's no justice in this world. Minecraft is a lovely thing, but doesn't Minecraft remind you that you can break things down and then build something new with it? You can break anything down. You can break down the government and build something new out of it. We get married to this idea of country and state. We never actually break that down and say, out of a state, you can make a city. Out of a city, you can make a town. Out of a town, you can make a village. I'm not saying bulldoze the whole thing over, but I am saying that when it comes to issues like pollution, when it comes to issues like litter or graffiti, what you could do is start local, because it's hard to think of America as anything but the giant polluting nation that it is, like China. But that's just a large country. I'm not going to be able to tell LA, stop polluting. But I can say village to village, why don't we change the roads in this particular area of the village? Change.org/clear LA smog. Welcome to the chat, Master Trismegatus. Yeah, life has been shit since the virus. That virus was not, William, it's not for everyone. You know, if you live in a world and everything is provided for you, great. I'm so happy that your life is together. But remind me, because my memory is not, I'm getting up in years. Remind me, because I am really, really old. How were things when the pandemic was in full swing for you? Were you able to just go to the store normally? Were you able to just go to the movies? Or did your government have to tell you to sit your ass down? Did your government have to tell you, you got to wash your hands? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. I'm pretty sure that during that time period, you were extremely restricted. And you know what? No one told you that you didn't have to be. No one told you that there was science that you could use to stop a pandemic. No one told you that, because when we go to school in America, they want us to come out idiots. They want us to be as dumb as possible, because a person who actually has a background in virology can fight viruses. I love Encanto. It's one of my favorite Disney films ever. Not just the music, just the idea of this wonderful, smart girl, Mirabelle, who is not as flashy as everybody else, but she has the gift of a mind that can do wonderful things. Well, you were very lucky that whatever town you were in was relatively unaffected by what I can only say out loud how many times is a bioterrorist event. COVID was a bioterrorist event. If you want to call it a pandemic, you can call it a pandemic, but why don't you just admit that humans played a part in its mutation? Humans played a part in its continued evolution. Champagne spilling, you should taste that. It's all right. Thank you for coming into the chat. I welcome discourse. I welcome disagreement because I live in a country that if everything works out for you, good for you. But it's not working out for me, and it's not working out for several people. And it's not working out for birds and animals that were set on fire by these conniving bitches in California. These greedy capitalist pigs of California who think that a rabbit's life is worthless. That they think that the birds that made their homes in those forests are meaningless. I don't think so. I think that all life is precious, including human life. But I think that there needs to be advocacy on behalf of those animals, on behalf of those birds, because you can burn down a forest and you can burn down a house, but you can always rebuild that house. You can't rebuild a forest overnight. Right. As I draw closer and closer to the end of the month, where I'm emigrating to Canada, I will sit on a plane with Canadian citizens who also will be going to Canada. I will use every single moment that I have to talk about environmental issues, to talk about how important it is to do something now, to stand up to political leaders like Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass. No matter what, I saw some local California magazine that says, our heroes never, ever give up. Because it's not profitable. I'm going to leave that in the chat, as offensive and as earth-shattering as that is. I'm going to speak on it, but I'm going to leave that in the chat. They want people to suffer. They want people to go crazy. They want people to lose everything. Because when you go crazy, when you lose everything, it gives them power. When I tried to speak to the mayor in my lovely Spider-Man outfit, Spider-Man, well, never mind. My lovely costume. There was a woman there eating yoga and it's just like, I'm not having it. And just passive aggressive, as I'm told over and over again. No, you can't come in. No, you can't come into this government building. I was mad because I'm like, I'm not being allowed entry right now. But then I also remember that that's not the way to go about it, you know? Just see them in court, sue them, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to sue the County of Los Angeles for assaulting me. Because it takes one person to assault you, but it takes a whole county to sit there doing nothing. It takes a whole county to ignore the fact that the call security button was broken on that. It takes a whole county to not have the police arrive immediately or the sheriffs arrive immediately at the next stop. You see people fighting on a train. There should be sheriffs at the next stop. The fact that there weren't sheriffs at the next stop and that the assailant fled, it's not good. Oh, hey, Sancho. You see, going live is a wonderful thing. I mean, I wish I had done this when I first came to California. Things would have been different if I had. But I was always of the mindset, let me just focus on my veteran benefits so I can actually be the environmentalist that I'm supposed to be. I want to spend my days planting trees and speaking on environmental issues. I don't want to spend my time doing lives, but here I am. It's not too bad to do lives. I highly recommend it. It's a skill. Talking into a camera is a skill. It's a necessary skill because there are going to be a lot of things in the coming years that are going to be tests of the limits of what we're willing to tolerate when it comes to oppression in America. Some people are going to protest. Some people are going to get violent over it. I'm going to say, get out while you still can. I love how when I went into the hospital because I was injured, one of the first things I saw was of a plane crash, some sort of like thing in, I think it was Arizona or something, some Arizona aircraft. And all I can think is, this is because they won't change the design of the planes. This is because they won't update technology. Sure, there are things like human error, but could we also admit that we stopped inventing? We stopped creating? We stopped trying new things? If you look at the phone that you have or the computer that you have, is it really that different? You think it might be faster or you think it might be a different shape, but is it any way different? The same thing with medicine. We have done the same approach to medicine for decades. And I know that people are adding in stem cells, they're adding in 3D printing. It's not enough. We're not going far enough with technology at all. And you have to ask why. Because there is money, there is political gain if medicine is imperfect. There is money and political gain if aviation as a whole is difficult and dangerous. Planes crash, ooh, you better stay on the ground. You better stay where you are. You better stay in a place where you're suffering and oppressed. Because if you leave, who knows what could happen? You see, that's the thuggery of the American government. That's the thuggery of almost any government that thinks that way. That they want to use violence or fear-mongering in order to keep their populace in. I disagree. As I nibble on my food. It's so good. I'm going to Canada. I'm going to speak to the new Prime Minister. I'm going to explain every single one of my engineering projects. And if they agree that it is cheaper and more beneficial to Canadians, I must protect Canada. If they agree that it is cheaper and more beneficial to Canadians to use my designs for city planning and forestry, then great. I can secure a contract as an independent consultant on environmental issues internationally, and therefore make a name for myself so I can do that for all of the other countries of the world. Because all the other countries of the world need me. America doesn't want me because I'm transgender. America doesn't want me because I'm not white enough. I mean, I know that that really shouldn't matter, but when it comes to being smart and a genius, they prefer that to be white because it's a bit more palatable. But if Canada says yes to me, I'm going to be an international ambassador for science. I've already talked about the plans I have for Canada, the plans I have for Scotland. I plan on doing that for every single country, because I don't think that any country in the world should be devoid of a genius. So this genius has to take it international. I'm boarding that plane to Canada and I'm leaving America. I'll still continue the podcast. I'll still continue fighting for Los Angeles to see reason so they don't burn themselves alive. But there are other countries that need me. I keep going back to my favorite Marvel character ever, Captain Marvel, when she said, where were you when, she was asked, where were you during all of the other cataclysmic events? And she said, there were other galaxies that needed me that didn't have an Avengers. America has the EPA and the EPA doesn't do anything. America has the Department of Education. The Department of Education doesn't do anything. America has a Department of Transportation. They don't do anything. Department of Labor, they don't do anything. If it's that dysfunctional in this country, maybe I should leave and help other countries. Fuck it. If Zimbabwe, if Saudi Arabia need a space program, they should have a space program. In fact, everyone should have a space program. The fact that space programs are so sparse and so underfunded and so devoid of engineering talent shows that it's just a matter of control. Because once we start letting third world and developing nations out into space, they're going to thrive because they'll be able to overcome things like poverty, famine, disease, just by launching into space. Just by creating the technology to launch into space creates jobs and wealth and creates a sense of community that is lost. There is no sense of community in America because nobody wants to go to Mars except for me. And I have nightmares and I kick and scream because I'm still fighting Master Sergeant Miranda, who sexually abused me at Lackland Air Force Base. But I also kick and scream in the middle of the night because nobody wants to go to Mars. Nobody wants to try anything new. They look at this city of LA and said, well, that's it. That's all that America can do. There's Hollywood. Isn't that lovely? And I'm baffled. I'm baffled how people can look at CGI on a screen and say, I don't want that to be real. I mean, I'm glad the movie's over. I don't want that to be real. It's... What? What? Oh. Movies and television are supposed to inspire you. Inspire you to have a critical look at the world around you. See it for what it is. And people would rather skip credits, skip recaps, skip intros, and just race through shows and miss all the subtext. I saw Captain America Brave New World, and they had a bunch of high school students who were gifted with a premiere of a Marvel film. They talked through the entire thing like they couldn't be bothered. I mean, you got Anthony Mackie delivering lines that have hidden meanings. I mean, not hidden, just they have multiple layers. I mean, it's a story of intrigue, but they're talking about things that happen in today, that these are things that happen. But no, talking to your mates in the middle of a film is more important than Marvel trying to teach you something about how the government is using you. Whatever. I I have to blame the Department of Education. I have to blame them because if they aren't teaching critical thinking through reading, if they can't teach people focus and active listening, then I really don't want my kids to go to an American school after that. I know that's super old of me to say, shh, don't talk in a movie theater. It's not a library. And I guess that's the point, isn't it? Harry Potter made a big thing about the restricted section of the library. Oh yes, the answers we're looking for are in the restricted section of the library. Are you sure that isn't just the whole entire library? Because when do Americans pick up books? When do Americans read? I mean, you can read a post, you can read an article, and you can glance at X, but aren't you really just looking at the pictures? America is never going to be the intellectual haven that I want. It's just not what it's designed for. It's designed for pretty people to breed and make stupid people. That's great. I like fucking dumb, pretty people. I don't want them in office. I don't want them to design policies that weaken the environment around us or ignore things like our infrastructure, uh, bridges and roads that have never really been repaired, ever. I don't want people like that in charge of our curriculums because they're just not modern enough. And we need more modern ways of instructing young people to face the challenges that they are going through now. So, no, I don't want my kids to grow up American. I'm American. I don't want my kids to grow up like this. I want my kids to know the difference between right and wrong, and I want them to always have the ability to speak up for themselves without fear of censure, without fear of social ridicule. Going to an American school, it just teaches you to be a coward, to be weak. Those aren't skills that my children will have. So I have to leave. Change.org/Genius to Mars. If you're in this chat and you are interested in a space program that is a public option, I highly recommend you give that link, change.org/Genius to Mars, a click, sign my petition, because I am looking for a group of people who are interested in colonizing Mars. Mars is fuckable. We should fuck with Mars. I'm looking around America and it's becoming a police state. It's becoming this oppressive place where the food is bad, the water is bad, the air is bad, and the people are rabid zombies. If you live in a city, get out, because it's only going to get worse. The next bioterrorist event, I'm sorry, you call them pandemics, bioterrorist event is going to be devastating, especially if you live in a city. That many people rubbing up against each other, coughing on one another. If COVID teaches us anything, it's maybe some distance is a good thing. Hello, Mary, Morales, Lopez, Miles. I am eating my incredibly delicious meal and I am talking about how America needs to change. America has to change, and I need people to recognize their own power. People to recognize that this is your country too. When you elect people to represent you, it doesn't take away your power. You always have that power to speak your mind. You always have that power to disagree with the decisions that they make in your name. Because these politicians, they make decisions that impact your city, your town, your state, your country, international countries. But they do that with your blessing when you don't challenge them. When the whole county is on fire, it's easy to blame Gavin Newsom. It's easy to blame Karen Bass. It's a lot harder to turn those four fingers that are pointing towards you into an admission of responsibility. I feel responsible for those forest fires. I want California to feel that as well. So I do a podcast, I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway, where every day I bring up the fact that before these forest fires, there were warnings. Before these forest fires, there were meetings that they had where environmentalists said, well, what if you tried this? Or what if you tried that? Or maybe if we spoke to the people more often about pollution. And Governor Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass blew them aside. And the reason why I don't have to be there in the room to see this happen, I don't have to be there to see that happen because I saw 5 forest fires in one county, so I know that must have happened. LA is on fire, and LA will continue to burn every month, every year, until we do something about it. I'm doing something about it. I'm doing a podcast, and I'm eating really, really sloppily. Only you can prevent forest fires. Thank you, you giant hunky bear. It's so good. So every day I do these lives, talk about issues that are going on here, and I always talk about how veterans always need your help. When you say thank you for your service, it's a nice sentiment, but it doesn't put food on the table for a veteran. It doesn't give them safe housing. It doesn't do anything except remind them of their sacrifice for you. Veterans sacrificed for you. I am a veteran and I sacrificed for America. I'm not asking for much. I'm asking for what they owe me so I can do things like see a private care physician, get my mental health sorted out, have a safe area to maybe raise my children, have a safe area to go back to school so I can have access to a lab and fix some of the societal problems in public health. Because that's necessary. Do you think it's right that you only have the CDC to turn to when it comes down to these bioterrorist events? Because it took them a long time to come up with a vaccine that isn't 100% foolproof, and a vaccine that quickly became obsolete. But what am I saying? The choice is always yours, America. The choice is yours. You can stick your heads in the sand and pretend that when people struggle, that's somebody else's problem, that you will never struggle, that you will never come up with a time in your life where you wish your civil liberties weren't infringed upon. That's a very, very happy, charm life. I'm glad that that's there for you. But for people like me, I see what's going on and I see it as incentive to just say, I have had enough. Heroes don't quit. They never ever quit. Heroes join teams. I don't know, Captain America Sam Wilson, do you need backup right now? Because if you don't, you think you can handle what's coming. Good. That's fine. That's fine. I love how Marvel does a whole film about Thanos and his snap that ended 50% of life on Earth. And people said, that's a really good movie. Not knowing that that was a precursor to COVID. That stuff happens. I mean, they've done Outbreak, they've done Contagion, they've done Pandemic, they've 28 days later, 28 weeks later, 28 years later, they've done everything to try and get it into your zeitgeist that there is something off right now. Really something off. But you know what people say? People say The Walking Dead, that's a great show. That's a great show. That's all that is. Just a great show. So I don't want to break that fourth wall to you. If you think that everything is fine, continue that delusion. It seems to be working out for you. Me, on the other hand, I'm awake like passengers. Only I do wish Chris Pratt was the one to wake me, because his butt in that film, he shows his butt, and he had this like really cool gnarly beard, and I was like so into him. Like in that film, I slowed it down and watched it like 3 times in a row. In the name of science. But yeah, if he was the one to wake me up, I would be like, okay, let's enjoy this zero gravity hot tub over here. Sorry, Jennifer, I know you were in that film too, but I was like, I wouldn't be that mad at him. It's like, you woke me up so we could have all this together. Skip the park and just recreate all over this body, okay? I am into Chris Pratt. I think he's super sexy, but that's just me. But the whole idea of waking someone up out of their sleep pods, the cycles that we have. When was the last time that you forgot what day of the week it is? When was the last time when you couldn't exactly tell the time of day? We're not made for 24 hours or 7 days a week. We're not designed that way. This is why we're always tired. I'm going to continue these podcasts. I'm going to continue dropping these truth serums to try and wake people up. I'm not saying that everyone should just quit their job and, live a hippie life. Just be aware, people. Be aware. Your health is your own. Your sanity is your own. And also your happiness is your own. You have to break free from these cycles, these days, these months, these years. Because it's robbing you. It's robbing you of your health and it's robbing you of your happiness. When I think about, and I'm pretty sure YouTube and Reddit and X and Facebook, they know exactly the type of guy I'm into. That is not in LA. Just, no. It's just not in LA. And every day, every month, every year, I just roll over, I go to sleep, and I leave it at that. Hello, Clint. I don't think, if there is someone out there that I'm interested in, I should just go where that person is instead of trying to expect that person to magically show up here. So for many reasons, I have to leave here, but also to get laid. Like, good grief. Like, what is with LA that everybody whacks their chest? Like, no one has a hairy chest here whatsoever. I'm so upset. Oh, that's so nice. Clint, I'm so glad that you were doing lives about real issues. Religious tolerance is something that it's hard to teach. It's hard to instill that into people because we are taught at an early age that teams are good. Teams are good, not sportsmanship. Sportsmanship is good. Teams, not so much. And yes, a religion is a team. Like you, I have read almost every culture's mythology because I needed to know why they are the way they are, what made them into the culture they are today. Because I'm very interested in being an ambassador for science. So I found it important for international relations to know the cultures and some of the languages. Hi, Jaden. Hi, Clint. I am hanging in there. I'm doing my best. It's like a week left until, I have to start really getting myself ready to leave. I have to board a plane, go to Canada, and then go through the whole immigration process and hope that they let me stay as a political refugee. But I have tons of evidence of America persecuting me, so it should be enough. But you never know. I'm hoping that I can have a sponsorship from Avril Lavigne and Fifi Dobson and Josh Ramsey, and maybe even Celine Dion, because I want to be a citizen as expediently as possible so I can win myself a Juno for music and environmentalism, because I spend most of my time talking about how to save a Canadian forest. While I slurp on my delicious food, Jaden, don't even worry about it, because here's what's going to happen. As soon as I get to Canada and I am granted asylum, I'm going to throw myself a lovely concert. Mostly so I can talk about environmental issues. But I will be spinning my tunes and singing on stage to those lovely Canadian people. And I will be sending tickets to my fans. So be on the lookout. I'm a messy eater. You travel a lot, Jaden. Canada is a beautiful place. It's cold, and I want snow. I've lived in Los Angeles for 3 years now. I want snow so badly. I can't think of anything else. I want my dog to experience snow. Oh, don't worry. I will definitely have a singing Sunday tomorrow. I was singing earlier today, but I guess you weren't on, so it's all right. But yeah, it's difficult to get into a routine, because routines are like shackles. I mean, I don't mind doing something like a singing Sunday. I mean, it's my day of worship. I do want snow. I want snow, but I also want freedom. And I'm not saying Canada is going to be in any way more free than America. It's just, it's something different. It's a different perspective. It's a different take on things. I follow Ontario's clean air initiatives on X. They have yet to respond to me, and I don't know why. Every day I try and retweet them, and I try and tweet at them and let them know I'm a musician and I'm an environmentalist. Let me perform at one of your rallies. Let me perform at one of your galas. And they never even give me the time of day. It's like all of Canada just ignores me. And I don't know why. I tried to reach out to Melanie Joy. I'm mispronouncing your name, love, because I never met you, and like I don't live in Canada, so I can only read it. But I try and speak to them all the time, and I just can't get through to any Canadians. So I have to go there and just hopefully not be as annoying and such a know-it-all. But I do know. I do know. What? Am I wrong when I contacted the University of Toronto and told them I need a geological report because I think that your city is actually sinking? I mean, they don't have to give me a report, but I think they should at least generate one for themselves. And they should think about that. Toronto is sinking. Huh. I hope you find that person. I don't know. I have a new song out. It's called Week, Week. I highly recommend you listen to it. You get to hear my voice, my beautiful high register, and it's the first song I wrote since being assaulted by a Latino in this East Los Angeles area for being transgender and not buying drugs from some Latinos. They get mad when you don't fall into that stereotype of loser. When you actually are of Latino descent and choose to do something with your life like science, they kind of hate that because it's not as authentic as selling drugs. And if you're offended by that, you can take that right back to your drug dealing family members and tell them to stop slinging drugs, stop gangbanging. No, they don't think that way. They think that it's so tough to be able to do something like that. Which is why I don't have respect for this fucking city. I don't. Because it was the second time that I've been a victim of a hate crime by the Latino community. A community that has forgotten who they are, forgotten that there was a time where you wouldn't be wearing pants down to your ankles. You wouldn't be wearing backward hats and in shirts oversized. You'd be wearing a grass skirt with your willies all flinging about as you're chasing down a boar in the forest. And you would have long fucking hair and would look like a fucking female. And the females would look butch as fuck with shorter hair. And they'd be running along with you, chasing down boars in the fucking forest. Those are your fucking ancestors. Those are my ancestors. That's where we come from. That's who we are. We're not this, whatever America did to you that made you turn into this. I reject that. I reject American Latino culture because American Latino culture is nothing more than thuggery. And somebody has to say that. I love Latino people. I love Latino culture. I love Latino history. But if you don't know your cultural history and you're going to shove your machismo down my throat, I have no respect for you. So every day I'm going to bring that up until Latinos are gangbanging, just criminal activity from some impoverished culture. Gangbanging is criminal activity by an impoverished culture under the guise of, well, I couldn't get a job any other way. Fuck USA. Fuck you. And I will say that with a fucking snooty Hispanic accent because it's fucking bullshit. The amount of brain power that it takes to run a criminal empire could be used to run a regular business. And if you didn't get a big enough break in order to be able to do that, I'm not gonna fucking whatever. But either way, there's like no excuse in 2024, 2025 to scroll up to someone in the middle of a subway platform and ask to sell them drugs. There's just no excuse for that. And there's no excuse for this disgusting county who wouldn't give me my veteran benefits so I could live in a house and not have to ride the fucking metro with these fuckers. I'm so done with this LA. You see, this is why I'm done with LA, because they do lovely films like Madam Web by Marvel. And Dakota Johnson says, "Get off the train, get off the train." And it's just like, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you, and I'm just saying, how nice that you can say something like that. How nice. Can you afford not to be on the train? Can you afford that? Can you afford to just like helicopter across the entire city of New York? Oh, Clint just lays it out there. Oh, Clint is. I'm sorry. I need to laugh more because Clint makes a valid point. Jaden is my biggest fan, and I'm pretty sure like Jaden is like 10. And I say some pretty racy things, but I usually when Jaden isn't here because I'm like, I have to protect your sanctity of your youth. But then again, aren't you still living in a place where, COVID happens and, there's teen pregnancies and, there's all sorts of evils in the world. Oh, well, congratulations. You grew 3 years since the last time I spoke to you. What? You had 3 birthdays in like 12 hours? How did you make it to. Never mind. I can't even bother. Well, happy birthday, I guess. Wow. Welcome to my chat. But yes, the whole idea that the culture, which should be a celebration of every generation that it took to make it to America, and somehow Latinos just got stuck. Same thing with Black culture, same thing with Asian culture. Just stuck. I'm not saying that I want my people to 100% Americanize and just be swallowed whole by this soulless machine. I just want them to remember who they are and where they come from. Disney Plus has this American Born Chinese, and it's all about the magic of a Chinese heritage. How do you not feel that way? How do you watch something like the Encanto and not say to yourself, there's a little truth to that? There's a little truth to when Latinos turn to things like gardening and turn to things like strength. There's a strength within us. And the whole idea of shape shifting, I'm pretty sure there's some legends of skinwalkers who can do that in the Native American First Nation cultures. So, yeah, culturally, I want to see more for these cultures, because if all I see from them is thuggery and hate crimes, then I'm not really seeing all my culture. And right now, that's what I'm seeing. So if a little anger bubbles up out of the lid that I try to put on it, I don't really mind that much. I have a concussion because a Latino saw me, tried to sell me drugs, and I said no. And because I'm transgender, and I'm not gonna let that culture get away with this pervasive prejudicial attitude that they keep instilling in every single one of their generations. I'm not exactly sure I know that one, Clint. Well, where's that? I love being enlightened, so next time I'm on, I'm gonna ask you about that. I'm no expert, but I would say don't run, make loud noises, and if anything, climb. Ah, I see. I talk about Latin culture, but I could easily talk about things like the Norse and the Scandinavian. If you know that that's where your ancestors come from, they had a fluidity of emotion. They had a rhythm to the way that they move their body that you need to know. That is your cultural heritage to know that. That is your cultural birthright to know how your ancestors used to move, used to greet the day, because that is how you keep yourself alive. I mean, I have my lovely British accent, and that doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. But I still stay true to my First Nation heritage. I still stay true to the way that my people have moved for millennia. The way I move is how my ancestors moved. I don't walk like a Westerner. I walk like how my people used to walk. So that has kept me healthy. That has changed my life toward better health. It's a little thing, but it's super important. If you know that you have cultural heritage, learn it. Always learn your heritage, because that heritage is who you are inside. Well, you could be a bit more specific than that, but yes, it certainly is a heritage. Because you have to think, there is no like nice way to say this, but how many people of color do you think are 100% designed for something like a computer chair? How many Caucasian people are even designed for that? It's just unnatural to sit in a chair. It is unnatural to be in an office at all, hunched over a computer, yelled at by a boss. These are unnatural things. And somehow, because we live in America and we call ourselves Americans and not Africans and not Norse people, we forget that we never needed those things. We never wanted those things. And that by needing and wanting those things, we are hurting ourselves. By all means, Jaden, as I always say, I have a right to answer or not answer if I choose not to. But you are free to speak your mind. Always err on the side of exercising your freedom of expression. I'm sorry to hear that, Clint. I did not know that. But you also have to think, before that happened, were you using your feet the right way? Were you wearing the right shoes? Were you eating the right things? Were you getting enough sleep? Oh, I have to go back and read my Norse mythology. I hope Clint feels better too. But that's precisely why I want to be an engineer. Change.org/genius to Mars. Clint, Jaden, I hope that the two of you can convince some people to sign my petition, because I am a brilliant engineer, especially in medicine. I would be able to look at something like Clint's situation and say, there are non-invasive, non-surgical methods to deal with that, and give you full functionality. And I would love the opportunity to even present it as an idea, not to say that you would take it and use it, but why can't you have all the options? Why do I have to live in a country that says medicine is what it is, and it can never aspire to be anything more. I disagree. I'm trying so hard. All I want is my veteran benefits so I can go back to engineering. Not work with anybody else, obviously, but just myself. But if I had what I need, I could do something. I could do something. I have all these great engineering projects, all these lovely engineering projects, and I can't do anything because I'm stuck in this stupid fucking barrio, and I don't want to be here. Not really. Religion isn't for me because I'm super into being by myself and super into just being spiritual and connected to something, but I don't need rules or mythology in order to make that happen for me. A lot of people do. They like to think of anthropomorphic little deities and come up with nice encapsulated fables in order to teach morals. But for me, I've just seen too much human cruelty to think that there could be anything out there. Too much American cruelty to think that there could be something out there. So for me, the only thing I think is out there are aliens, and I'd love to meet them. And I'm not going to meet them being stuck in a stupid fucking barrio where I'm an engineer and these people are drug dealers. Not all of them, obviously, but just the ones that assault me, which is too many of them. And if that doesn't exactly make me popular, fine, whatever. How would you feel if you were just assaulted by one of these people? I will never apologize for speaking my mind. If one person from an ethnicity offends me in any way, I fucking write the entire group off forever. Forever. Because I don't need that. I don't need adoration from a group or anything like that. I choose to be a better leader. That's just the type of person that I am. If the Latino culture wants to preach hate, I'm going to preach love. I'm going to preach history. That is lovely. That is lovely. Whatever I believe in doesn't take away from your faith. It's it's just that too much has been taken away from me for me to believe there's anything fair or just in this world. And it's been taken away by America. And I haven't seen anything good come out of being in America. I have seen good and potential in maybe leaving it. And I think that's what I have to do, because there are other countries that need me. Canada needs me. Canada needs engineers. There was a chemical spill near Kanawake, and they didn't have enough people there to come up with soil filters or to do samples and to check the penetration of the chemical spill, to zone off the area, to test the people for chemical poisoning. They don't have enough medicine men in that area near the Suzanne Creek. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go up there and see if, as a refugee, I can apply for a Canadian medical school to help my people. Because as someone of the First Nation descent, I believe in helping my people, not these people in this. They may look like me, but they have forgotten themselves. Of course, I always wish you a good year, Jaden, always. But you have to do your homework. You have to get straight A's in order to remain in this chat. All right, well, I am going to lick my plate clean because I am a savage. And I would prefer not to do that on camera because I'm still so English that I lick my fingers on camera, but licking a plate on camera just makes me seem so uncivilized. So I will do that off camera. This is Ian Iliana of I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway, a podcast dedicated to environmental activism, human rights advocacy, and just a celebration of the pursuit of happiness, true happiness. True happiness is enlightenment. True happiness is self-assuredness and security that you can express yourself without censure or fear of reprisal from anybody. And if you cannot find that where you are, then you owe it to yourself to find it in a place where you are welcome. And for me, that is not America. And I have a legal right to fight for my civil rights, and I also have a legal right to go to another place where that could be honored. Have a good day. I will see you on the next podcast.